modifying 3-bit asynchronous counter using T flip-flop as component. Then I'll be floating to practice examples for students, that is 3-bit ring counter and 3-bit twisted ring counter, and I'll be drawing the block diagrams for you, so you can refer that block diagram and you can create the VHDL model using structural modeling style. Then we have logic gates using multiplexer. So Akshat Shah is going to present this particular bit today. He'll be explaining how you can implement an XOR gate using multiplexer using structural modeling style. And last is I will be giving an opportunity to students if somebody wants to present, or they can share the screen and they can attempt to implement NOT gate using universal logic gates at either NAND or NOR. Fine. So last time we did successfully synthesize the VHDL model, and we also simulated it, and we actually got the counter output as it should be. But I felt that we were making things a little more complicated. And second thing is that I went wrong in my explanation at one point. So I will tell you where I went wrong. So this is the block diagram of parent entity CNTR3 async, and TFF was the block diagram of the component or the child entity, and adjacent to that was the truth table which we implemented in the architecture body of the child T flip-flop. And last but not the least, the fourth block diagram which actually represented our parent entity CNTR3 async as an interconnection between 3 instances of T flip-flop. I will tell you where I went wrong. Is that the first mistake which I did in my explanation was that a asynchronous counter does not have the T input. That is the first mistake which I did. So we are going to erase this, because when I say 3-bit asynchronous up counter, that means it should accept minimum only one input, that is clock, CLK, and it may or may not have RST and PR. So basically a counter takes only one input clock and it gives an n-bit output. That is basically a counter. And if the n bits increment themselves and the arrival of either rising or the falling edge, it is up counter. If the n bits at the output decrement themselves by 1 at the arrival of rising or falling edge, it is a down counter. And then we can have RST and PR. So according to the basic definition of an n bit counter, it is not allowed to accept this input T. So the first thing which I am going to do today is to erase this particular input. It is not allowed. Okay. I'll remove this. Okay, so my counter will not have T as an input. So that is why in my VHDL model, I'm going to remove that input T. Another thing which I felt was little more verbose is that we don't need to define x1, x2 and x3 separately. We can define x as a vector directly. That we will do again. And third thing is that I want to remodify this particular block diagram in a little bit different way. So what I will do, that I will copy this particular block diagram and I will repaste it and make the modifications there. So I'll copy this. Okay, and make the changes here. So what I will do is and this is my CNTR3 async. This is my parent entity. Now it is very clear that this particular red colored rectangle represents my parent entity CNTR3 async, and we are seeing that in the parent entity we have the output Q, which is 3-bit, so it is Q2, Q1 and Q0. So outside this particular black box we are having the outputs Q2, Q1, Q0, so it is matching, where Q2 is MSB and Q0 is LSB. Now other inputs which are going into the parent entity are CLK, RST and PR. Here also we are seeing that CLK is entering. So I will make some modifications here. Okay. And this is my CLK. And similarly, RST and PR are also shown entering inside from outside. Okay. So I will also make some changes there. Okay. Similarly, some modifications are there, and because I have removed the T input from the parent, I cannot show T input at the outside of the parent also. So I will again remove this thing. Fine. So this is internal. This is purely internal thing. Okay, so we are seeing here that the T inputs of all three flip-flops are actually shorted together, and this has to be made as an internal signal. Okay, so how do I show it? So I can show it like this. It is my T, and T should be equal to 1. Okay, so T, because it can never be the input of a counter, that is why I cannot show T outside the red colored rectangle which represents the parent. And what we will do, we will make the modifications. So here, instead of x1, x2, x3, I will replace it with x0, x1 and x2. So again, I'll do some deletions here. Replace it by writing, x bracket 0 becomes q0, LSB of counter, x1 becomes middle bit, and x2 becomes this. Okay, so as per whatever modifications I have made here, I will show you that in the VHDL model what changes I have made. Okay, so this is my parent entity. So I'll so nothing has changed. Yes, in yesterday's VHDL model we had put one signal T here, so now T is not one of the signals in the parent entity, so T has been removed. Another change which I have made is here, that instead of defining intermediate signals as x1, x2, x3, I have defined signal x as a standard logic vector 2 down to 0. Similarly, here I have taken one signal T temp. Okay, so T temp is assigned 1, was also there yesterday, and we see here that instead of x1 here, x1 here, and x2 here and x2 here, and q2 here, what I have done is that I have just replaced x1 with x bracket 0. I have replaced x2 by x bracket 1, and I have put x2 here. And here yesterday we had written statements that q2 gets x2, and q1 gets x1, and q0 gets x1, something like that. So we had written that q2 is assigned x3, q1 is assigned x2, and q0 assigned x1. So I have removed those two statements, and because x is defined as a vector, I can simply write down q is assigned x. Okay, so what is q? Q is the output of the parent entity. It is assigned the bits. Okay, so q is also 3-bit 2 down to 0. X is also 3-bit 2 down to 0. So I can simply write down x is assigned x. A q is assigned x. I'm very sorry. And here, whatever were the relevant changes that I have made, So actually somebody may say, sir, how there is a space between Qt and temp? There is no place space, but because I've zoomed, it is showing like that. Okay, so now you see here, underscore has come. So if I zoom, underscore is disappearing and Q is becoming O, right? So don't get confused, right? So this has been synthesized already. So we can resynthesize it, and I can say right click, run. Okay. Now one more modification which I had to do is this. So what I thought, yeah, synthesize is successful. And what I thought is, instead of initializing ttemp here, what if I initialize it here by telling colon equal to singleton 1. Okay, control S. Let us redo it. Let us see if we do not get any errors and warnings, then our modification is acceptable. Okay, it is giving a warning. It is telling signal ttemp is used but never assigned. This sourceless signal will be automatically connected to value 1. This has got something to give and take with what is the life of the signal defined where. Just like in C, we have something called a scope of a variable, that depending upon in which section of the C program a particular variable is defined, the life is decided there. Similarly, we also have something called a scope of signals. We will discuss later. So this is not acceptable. So I have to remove this, and I have to uncomment my statement, and I have to resynthesize it. Yeah. So now before we go on to simulation, I want to show you something, not RTL schematic, not technical schematic, but I want you to see the synthesis report where there is some information written which is not written in combinational systems. Okay. So I will show you the detailed synthesis report when we synthesize a combinational system such as multiplexer, and I want to show the synthesis report of a system which is having a clock. Okay. So we will see if we are having some combo systems here. We have a combo system. Mux41 underscore SMS is there with us. So we will go and we will resynthesize it. Yeah. Anyways, we can neglect this. What I want you to see is this thing. Okay. So Fine. So this is our result. It was not opening from within the tool. That is why I closed the tool and we are here. So this is the design summary report, and what you are supposed to do is you should go to, well, it is not showing this also. Anyways, basically there is one option called synthesis report here, which somehow or other it is coming grayed out. Anyways, we can look for other systems also if we can get that. 4-bit binary adder was another combination system which was not having a clock, and we will see here. Yeah, we have it. Okay, so this is 4-bit binary adder, okay, which we did it in the previous sessions, and we have the design summary report here. I can pull it here and I will double click this and I will say right click float. Okay, it's a very detailed report, but I already go to the section which is of importance now. So we'll go down. There is something called as device utilization summary, advanced HDL synthesis partitioning report. Final report is there. It is telling that 8 bells have been used, 8 3 input LUTs have been used, and number of IO buffers is 14, because A and B are 4 bits, so 4 plus 4 8. Then we have C in, that is 9, C out is 10, and we have the sum vector as 4, so 14 IOs are there. Okay. Anyways, here I am taking you to what is called as a timing report. It's here. Okay, I'll zoom it now. Okay, are able to see this timing summary? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it is showing here timing summary speed grid -5, because our FPGA selected is having speed grid -5. Anyways, see here now what is written. Minimum period, no path found. Now you know that period in electronics is a reciprocal of frequency. So our 4-bit binary adder does not have clock as an input. So because there is no clock, the system is not having any operating frequency, and that is why no period. That is why in every synthesis report, of any combinational system in which clock is not one of the signals, always you will find minimum period no path found. Next is minimum input arrival time before clock. This actually is nothing but a technical parameter which is called as setup time, no path found. Third is maximum output required time after clock. This is nothing but hold time. So setup time and hold time are two critical parameters of any digital system, which actually go on to define what can be the value of Fmax, or maximum operating frequency. And these two parameters are jointly called as metastability. And only, so for example, we may ask a question that why Intel and AMD's processors say that Fmax is 3.4 gigahertz, or turbo frequency is 5 gigahertz. Why not 6? Why not 7? Why not 8? Why not 10? Because VLSI design metric says that larger is the value of operating frequency, better it is. So why Intel and AMD are putting that our Fmax is only 4 gigahertz or 4.5? That is because this value of Fmax or clock frequency has been derived, ensuring that there are no metastability violations. I repeat, there are no metastability violations. So setup time and hold time are two critical parameters in design which go on to decide what is the value of Fmax. So because there is no clock, that is why setup and hold time it is reported as no path found. And what is written here is maximum combinational path delay 8.959 nanoseconds. So this 8.959 nanoseconds will go on to decide at what maximum frequency, not frequency, basically what will be the minimum delay between inputs changing and those changes being reflected in the output. So 8.959 nanoseconds, called as maximum combo delay, is nothing but the minimum delay between change in inputs and the change in outputs. I close this report now and I should go on to show what is the synthesis report of some other system. Okay. Anyways, so let us see a counter which we did just now, because it is a sequential system. That is why it is having a clock inside. Fine, no problem. We have to close this again. Go here. we have the design summary report here. Okay, and we have synthesis report here. I will float, show it to you. Okay, we directly go to timing summary here. Okay, so see, minimum period is 2.202 nanoseconds. Okay, so minimum predicament, it is reporting that maximum frequency at which your counter can operate is 454.06 megahertz, and somehow it has not encountered a setup time, but it has encountered a hold time. You see here. So in the previous report, which belonged to 4-bit binary adder, we had no path found for both parameters, that is setup time and hold time, and here it is telling maximum combinational path delay, no path found. Why? Because it has not encountered any combinational elements such as multiplexers or logic gates there. If it would have encountered any of these elements combination, that is logic gates or multiplexers, it would have immediately put some non-zero value here. So I repeat, because in the schematics of 3-bit asynchronous counter, it did not infer any combinational elements such as logic gates or multiplexers. That is why it is reporting no path found for combinational path delay. Is it clear? So here we have seen the difference in the timing summary of the synthesized models of combinational systems and sequential systems. Okay, so I close this and I go here and we will see the simulation. Test bench is there, and in the test bench we see that in the reset and preset have been initialized to 00. Initially they are not affecting the system. Wait for 42.5 nanoseconds. Purposefully I have not taken something like 40, 50, 60 because my clock is having a time period of 10 nanoseconds. I don't want the reset and preset signals to coincide with either rising or falling edges of the clock. So I have purposefully said that reset should remain 0 for the first 42.5 nanoseconds, and the preset should wait for the first 152.5 nanoseconds. So for 0 to 42.5 nanoseconds, our counter will be allowed to up count, and then at 42.5 reset is applied, and it remains from 42.5 nanoseconds to 92.5 nanoseconds, at which reset is pulled down to 0 and it is told to wait. Okay, so there is no application of reset beyond 92.5 nanoseconds. Similarly, in the preset, I have given sufficient time. So I have given more than 92.5 seconds. So at 92.5 seconds, 92.5 nanoseconds, the reset is being removed and preset is applied at 152.5 nanoseconds. So from 92.5 nanoseconds to 152.5 nanoseconds, the counter is again allowed to up count, at which preset is given 1, and from 152.5 nanoseconds to 172.5 nanoseconds, preset is remaining, after which it is pulled back to 0, and beyond 172.5 nanoseconds, the system is allowed to up count till t equal to infinity. We will see this behavior in the simulation. Select the test bench model, do check syntax, and say run. Float, zoom to full view, expand this columns, expand this column, remove clock period, zoom a bit, horizontal scroll, change the radix to hexadecimal. We are here. Okay, see here now. Okay, so as I told you, till 42.5 nanoseconds reset is 0, so counter is incrementing itself from 0, 1, 2, 3. At 42.5, because we have defined reset as asynchronous, so we see here that at 42.5 reset is coming, and even though clock is equal to 0, it is riding on logic 0 level, immediately it is becoming 0. So from 42.5 till 92.5 nanoseconds, we see here reset is remaining equal to 0. So counter is not allowed to change the state. It is stuck at 0, 0, 0. Now at 92.5, reset is becoming 0. It is being removed, but we see here because it is a negative edge triggered counter, that is why till it doesn't receive a falling edge, the counter does not resume to normal state, right? So at 100 nanoseconds, it is encountering a falling edge. So immediately it is going into the upcounting mode. Okay. So here we see that the preset is being applied at 152.5 nanoseconds. So here also we see that 152.5 nanoseconds preset is coming. Sorry, I missed it. Maybe it's here. So 152.5 nanoseconds, the preset is coming because it is again asynchronous. That is why although clock is equal to 0, immediately the counter is becoming 111 or 7. Okay. And from here till 202, it is not allowing. So at 202 nanoseconds, again preset is being removed. And because it is negative edge triggered counter, that is why when it receives the next falling edge, it increments itself. Okay, this is what it is. Okay, this was all from my side about the clarification and revisiting the 3-bit up counter using T flip-flop as a component. Okay, now I will tell Akshat. Akshat, are you in the session?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I will make you a presenter and you can explain. And it has been told to you that you have to refer to those particulars. So I will show the OneNote notes which I showed yesterday or last lecture. So Akshat. Akshat, are you having diagrams drawn that you can show, or else you want me to put this on the screen?
Sir, I have died.
Okay, fine. So you can share.
Screen is visible.
Yes, it is visible. Okay.
Okay. So we are basically designing a XOR gate using mux. So we will be using a 2:1 mux for designing XOR gate. So just the basic uh, truth table of XOR gate is for same inputs, it generates 0 output, and for difference input it generates 1 output. So here our child entity will be a 2:1 mux, while the parent entity will be XOR gate. Okay. So here when we apply 0 0, we'll get output y is equal to 0. But when we apply 0 and 1, we get 1. So for y is equal to b, means for a is equal to 0, we consider that for we need to design it using 2:1 mux. So for that we will be we will be using a or b, one of the line as a select line. So we'll be selecting as a as our select line, and using that we will be designing a XOR gate. So here what I did, for 0 0 output, for 0 0 means for select line 0, y is taking output as b, means y is equal to b. Okay. And for select line a is equal to 1 or s is equal to 1, it is inverting, means we are getting y is equal to b of not, means b bar, right? So on the basis of this table, I have designed this particular gate, particular diagram. So taking b as input, I have just given it as 0, and one of the means when I give it as 0 input, so see here, when I am giving it 0 input, I am getting one as out one as output on y. Okay, so I am using a NOT gate, and for inverting it I am using a signal known as x. So here 2:1 mux will be a one component, and another component will be NOT gate, right? So on basis of this diagram, I have made another diagram, that is main. So here this will be our parent entity, right? XOR underscore ms. I will be using this as entity name, and inside it our mux will be as acting as child entity. Okay, so a will be means when we design a diagram in synthesis, we will be able to see this same diagram. So here a will be like as select line, b will be one of the input, and b bar will be one of the input. Okay, so waveforms. Okay, so these are the waveforms for XOR. Means for 0 0 we get 0, for 0 1 1, 1 0 1, and 1 1 0. Okay, so A will be acting as select line. So sir, can I show the simulation now? Hello.
Yeah, so we have 25 minutes more. You can complete your explanation in next 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay sir, no issue.
Yes.
So I will be just I will be just showing the simulation.
Yeah, so I think so you have to explain this model based on the next this thing
Next
where
diagram,
you
yes.
showed XOR and not next one. This thing. So this will be the basis for writing the VHDL model. Now you explain.
Okay, so we are designing it using structural modeling style. Okay, so for first I have just declared all the libraries here, and I have declared the ports, means basically parent entity ports A and B as input and Y as output, and writing the entity for that. And after that I have written the architecture for means this child entity. This mux underscore 21 is a child entity, right? So I0, I1 and S are inputs, and ym is your output for particular that mux 2 is to 1. So I have written that component, and another component is not get, right? So for not get I have written ni as input and no as output. So this is the not get component, and x signal is given here. X signal is used for giving the not get output to the mux input, right? So I have just defined a signal access standard logic. So after that I have just mapped these signals, means map these input output signals. So here b means this one b input signal.
Yeah, Akshat, yeah, I'm interrupting you. You
No, sir.
can tell that what is NG1 and what is MUX 21.
Okay sir, yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
NG1, what is NG1?
So ng1 is a component, main component
No,
used
no,
in.
no. Nay, NG is component, MUX underscore 21 is component, NG1. Can anybody tell what is the technical name for this NG1 and MUX 21?
Sir, instances.
Yeah, no, instance name. So the syntax is instance name space colon space component name space port space map and parenthesis and mapping. Is it okay? So ng1 is the name given to the first instance of not get, and mux21 is the name given to the first instance of the component mux underscore 21. Okay, so these are instance names.
Okay sir.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
continue.
so
Sure.
these are the instance name as sir told. So we are just we are just mapping our ports, means mapping our signals. So basically this b signal is directly given to the mux, right? So here I have just means I have just given this b signal directly to the mux as I0, and another signal I1 is mapped as b is to x, because we are using not get, right? So b, after inverting it, it will be given as x. So this is another input, and the third one, which was s, right? So according I0, I1, and then s is a particularly a, means we have declared as a, right? So we are using a as a select line, so I have just given as a, and ym, that is y, as a output signal. Okay, and for not get, input is b and output is x signal, as we need to just give it ni and no. right? So after that, I have written the main architecture for both the signals. For NOT gate, defining their ports and just writing the logic means not output will be not of ni, that is input, and another will be here for the mux underscore 21, which is defining the signals again and writing the process. So we can use any another process also, means Venet's clause also, and any other. And we are using our I0, I1 and S signals as process. So if S is equal to 0, I'll just show you the diagram. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so if particularly S is equal to 0, then I need to give YMS I0, right? Means if S is equal to 0, then output should be of my directly I0 output, that is this one should be given as output. And if it is 1, then at that instance my 1 will be should be given. So accordingly I have just designed, and if I just invert it, means if I just write I0 is equal to I1 and your ym is I0, then it will be becoming a XNOR gate. Okay, so I'll just simulate synthesize it. Okay, synthesis complete.
Maximize it. Okay, fine.
So this is our XOR gate. Okay, so we can see here that A input is given as select line to mux 21, and so same is here, and B input for I0 instance is given directly, right? So it is given directly here, and using NOT gate another instance for I1 it is given using NOT gate. So here there is NOT gate, and
Akshat, in
yes,
RTL schematic, double click and show what is inside NG.
okay sir.
Hmm. Yeah, you
Here a
see,
NOT
it's
gate is
not get
present.
it. Not get it there. Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this was
And you
the
see here in this block, RTL
just
schematic. Yeah. Go inside. Go to another block. Yeah, this one, Mux 21. Yeah. So you see here, yeah, inside. Yeah. So it is nothing but it is S bar ANDed with I0 or with S ANDed with I1. Same thing. Okay. Yeah. You can close this. You can show simulation.
so technology schematic.
Yeah, you can show it. Show it.
Okay, so this is the technology schematic. So this was the truth table, means 000 and you can verify it after designing it that you are getting the same truth table as designed by you. And this is the K-man. This is just done. I'll just go to simulation. Okay, so this is the test bench written by me. Okay, so here we are just giving input signals from starting ones, as we need to start it from 00, and the instance is unit of utility, and this stimulation process for A and B as they both are input signals, and I have just kept A for 50 seconds on, then another instance for 50 seconds, and B for 25 seconds I've changed it. So this is a A, this is okay. So for 00 instance we are getting
अक्षत
Y.
अक्षत उसको मैक्सिमाइज करो आईसीएम विंडो को और जूम करो थोड़ा सा ताकि 4-5 से ज्यादा कॉम्बिनेशन नहीं दिखने चाहिए. प्लस क्लिक करके जूम करो उसको ऊपर. ठीक है, सफिशिएंट. 000.
For 00 for 25 seconds, B instance is like for 25 seconds it is changing output, means every 25 seconds it change output. So for
nanoseconds, Akshat, nanoseconds.
yes, sorry sir. For 25 nanoseconds. So for here 0 0 we are getting 0 as output. After that for 0 A is 0 and 1 means B is 0, B is 1, we are getting Y as 1. Then again for 1 0 we are getting 1 as output, and for 1 1 again 0. So this is the basic XOR gate. And for every 50 seconds, 50 nanoseconds we are changing our A signal, right? So for here 50 seconds it will be 0, and for another 50 seconds it has been 1. So this was the same.
Okay, Akshat, you can unshare.
Thank you sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Akshat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Akshat, for explaining. Just I want to add some things here. I'm not going to explain anything, just I will write some things. So this is the NOT gate component which Akshat had defined. Similarly, making it purposefully larger because our thing is that we write inputs and outputs inside it. So this was I0, Akshat.
Yes sir.
Yeah. You can correct me if there are some changes in notations. This was S, right?
Yes
And
sir.
this was YM, right?
Right sir.
Yeah. So this is what it is. So I'm going to map this thing here. Fine. So I can even make it bigger now. Now it is very easy. So when we do port mapping of this system, then it is very easy to read it like this. We can read it that if I make one instance, yeah, so I have to write instance name also here. So my instance name was mux21 and the component name which he gave was mux underscore 21. Similarly, the component name was ng So here I can write down ng1. So this is mux21 and he gave the name as ng1. So what I read is like this, that ni of ng1 is connected to b, no of ng1 is connected to x. Similarly, for the instance mux21 of multiplexer, I will read it like this, that I0 of mux21 is connected to b, I1 of mux21 instance is connected to x, S input of mux21 is connected to A. Similarly, the ym output of mux20 is connected to capital Y. So if you are able to interpret and read verbally this connection diagram like this, then it is only 30 seconds that you can do the port mapping. Okay, so this was all an addition to Akshat's explanation. He explained very nicely. Okay, so so this is what we have finished today. Revisited. Okay, so just like Akshat explained how to convert multiplexer into XOR gate and then do the VHDL modeling. Similarly, I'll leave it to the students to write the VHDL models for all remaining 6 logic gates, basically five logic gates, that is XNOR, AND, NAND, OR and NOR. Okay, like that. So now as far as practice examples are concerned, 3-bit ring counter would look something like this. So can somebody tell that what is the basic building block of a ring counter or a twisted ring counter?
D
Yes,
flip-flop, sir.
very good. So first and foremost thing which we do for doing structural modeling style is that we draw the block diagram. So first we draw the parent and then we draw the child. Okay, the parent is this big and the child is this big. Okay, and because it's a 3-bit ring counter, we need 3 instances of the same child. So as told before, it's a ring counter, so it will take only one input, clock, and then it's 3-bit ring, so output is Q, size 3. Okay, and let us say we can give the name as ring 3, say CNTR. So our parent entity is here with input clock and output is 3-bit Q. The name is ring 3CNTR. This is our child, and as our regular practice, because it's a D flip-flop, so first I will write the component name outside, that is, let it be as D flip-flop, and because flip-flops are clock triggered, so because our parent is also negative edge triggered, I will have this thing here. So okay, and it also should have an input D and it has one output. Okay, so what we can do, yeah, so I leave it to the student what names you want here. So I leave it to the student what to put here and what to put here. Okay, so we can keep this as D, I can keep this as C, and I can just name this as QD. This is the child. Okay, now we draw the parent in terms of the child. So take it here. This is my parent ring 3 CNTR, and I need 3 instances of the same child. 1, sorry, 2, 3. Okay, so we can have this guy as, so D clocks puts, and you know, so this will be QD, so D QD QD D D QD, and we have C C and C, and instance names 2. Okay, because it's a ring counter, that is why can you tell me how will CLK of the parent connect to instances of child? Yes, how will CLK of parent connect to instances of child?
CLK is connected to all
Yes,
clocks.
that means it's a synchronous counter. Okay, it's a synchronous counter. So this particular signal which comes from outside, CLK actually connects inside to all 3. Sorry. So ring counter is an example of synchronous counter. Okay, so fine. So CLK is mapped. Q has to be mapped now. Okay, so we can bring them outside in another way. Is it clear? Anything remaining? So CLK and Q have been shown now. Components have been defined. Okay. Now, if I want to make the same block diagram for a twisted ring counter, I have to simply change the connections. Am I correct? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So instead of feeding back the output, we have to feed back the complementary of the output. Okay, so we have to implement QD bar. So can anybody tell what will be the difference between the basic modeling of ring counter and twisted ring counter? Yes. Yeah. So in the ring counter, we don't need to define the QD bar output. Is it okay? Yes. So we see here in the 3-bit ring counter, this D flip-flop component, we have defined only one output QD. But here because we have to feed back the complement of the output, that is why we have to now define a child bit in a different way. Is it necessary to do like that, or there is some other way also? Yes.
Sir, we can use not get.
Yes, you can not gate. Yeah, we can use a not gate here. Okay. So I can change this. I can do it like this. Okay. Is this what you meant, Yash?
Yes, sir.
Ah, that means we have to define some intermediates here. Okay. So X here has to be. Okay. So students who like this structural modeling style as little bit challenging, they can actually practice and they can share in the next session. So I invite volunteers from BE8 that they can do this modeling, and if they are through, then just like Akshat showed it to me before presenting, I'll be happy if some students present both 3-bit ring counter and twisted ring counter also. Okay. Last but not the least, not gate using universal gates. It's just a 1-minute job. This is what you have done in second year. This is what you're expected to do in the VHDL modeling. So you have to use both of them as components. Okay. So that was all from my side. So I want 3 volunteers, one for presenting on 3-bit ring counter, second on 3-bit twisted ring counter, and for universal gates. Okay, so please understand one thing, that you should know what are the states. So this twisted ring counter is basically a 2n state counter. So if you have a 3-bit twisted ring counter, it will go through 6 states. If you have a 5-bit twisted ring counter, it will go through n states. That's it. Okay. About this thing, you find out.